SummerSlam has come and gone, and has the Bloodline story finally jumped the shark? We are going to talk about that, plus review the entire biggest party of the summer, give you my thoughts on the show as a whole, and we have a few more matches set for AEW All In. What a show that is looking to be. We are going to talk about all of that, plus so much more. The Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast is starting, and the bomb drops.
All of you friendly, nice, amazing people.
Oh, hi everyone. We love you so much.
That's the best.
It's TSF.
Is it real?
Hunter Knott.
Oh my God.
And you're listening to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you, TSF, and welcome everybody to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Young Buck, Andy York. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us, whether this is your first time or you have been with us from the beginning. We appreciate the love and support that you guys give us each and every week. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Like this video, share it with your friends. Go over and listen to the audio version of this podcast. You can find it anywhere you find your audio, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, so many other places. Definitely check us out wherever you listen to your podcast, and then go over to our social media at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow me on Facebook, on Twitter at Andy_PBWP. What a show we have in store for you guys today. We're talking all things SummerSlam as well as some AEW All In. A lot of things to catch up on. I know we promised that we would drop a review episode on Sunday. Life got busy. Things happened. I was not able to record up until now, but we are here to talk about it, and hopefully moving forward we'll be able to be a little more consistent on those things as we look to that in the future. But we have a big show for you, and so we want to make sure that we are aware of your time, kind of keep everything condensed and talk, because some of these are going to be more lengthy than others, and we'll jump into that. But we can't start any podcast without shouting out our friends over at WrestleBuddy. Make sure you go check them out. Fantastic articles over there, whether you're into old school, new school, the current product, top 10 lists, whatever it is, ranking lists, go check them out for sure. And then we need to always give a shout out to our buddy over at Sports Wire Radio, Tom and the gang. Your one-stop shop for all things sports, whether it's baseball, football, wrestling, whatever it is. Sports Wire Radio, go check them out. Follow them on their social media platforms as well. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into this show, because there's a lot to talk about. SummerSlam has come and gone, and a mixed reaction, I would say, to not just the main event, but to SummerSlam as a whole. I am in the camp that this was probably the worst WWE pay-per-view of the year. And when I say that, it sounds like it's the worst pay-per-view of all time. Listen, WWE pay-per-views right now are kind of like what NXT pay-per-views were. The worst one was still really good. Like, it was still really enjoyable. I gave this one like a 3, maybe like a 2.7 out of 5. I really enjoyed some things. There was a lot of things I wasn't too keen on. We're going to talk about all of that. But it was an up and down show for me. A lot of people loved it, but it was definitely an up and down show for me. And part of the reason why it's been so discussed and so controversial is because of the main event, the tribal combat between Jey Uso and the undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns. The Tribal Chief was on the line. The championship was on the line. And it was your typical Roman Reigns match, meaning that he worked really slow. He was methodical. He was talking trash to the fans. He was talking trash to Jey. He was doing all this, that, and the other. Solo got involved. It was your typical Roman Reigns match, which a lot of people, myself included, have been bored of that style of match since basically around WrestleMania time, Elimination Chamber time. It's the same thing every single time Roman Reigns goes out there. It's a little old at this point. It's a little boring. The match itself was what it was. I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be. I think we all thought the story behind it was going to be better, and the emotion inside of it was going to be amazing. But it was just lacking something, I think, this time. And it was, the report is Roman Reigns got hurt early on in the match, which that probably played a key factor into all of this. He got hurt early on in the match. It just, something didn't really click. Until we started to get towards the end of the match, where Roman and Solo were going for their amazing double team move with the Samoan Spike and the Spear at the same time. Jay pulled Solo in front of himself, so he ate the Spear instead of Jay. That caused some conflict between Solo and Roman, but Solo never turned on Roman. He continued to go after Jay. Jay speared Roman through the barricade. He put Solo through the table. He rolls Roman into the ring. He hits him with the spear again. A second spear. He goes to the top rope, hits the Uso splash, covers him 1, 2, and a mystery man pulls him out of the ring. And the mystery man was none other than Jimmy Uso. And there had been some speculation, and I think a lot of people thought this was a possibility of Jimmy getting involved. Here's the thing about the Usos splitting in the first place. I understand that they want to have this match between the two of them. I understand that they want to have this one-on-one match. I know they had talked about in an interview recently where they wanted to do it at WrestleMania, have Rikishi be the special guest referee, Jimmy versus Jay. I think we could get there. And I think the match will be awesome between the two of them, by the way. My concern is the story of beloved tag teams splitting up doesn't always really work. And especially when you do brothers. You look at Matt and Jeff Hardy going into WrestleMania 25. That story was just awful. This one, I don't really know how to feel. I was very upset in the moment because, to me, Jimmy turning on Jay, until I get some context behind it, makes zero sense. Makes absolutely zero sense. Jimmy was the first one to turn on Roman before Jay did. Jimmy was the first one to super kick Roman twice and then pulled Jay out with him. Jay then kicked Jimmy out of the Bloodline and then kicked himself out at the same time. So why would Jimmy be mad about that? And then I get the whole thing of Jimmy cut that promo going into WrestleMania claiming he was the tribal chief. Jay's going after the tribal chief. Jealous brother thing. But there's been no tells of that this entire time. That the one time that we've seen a jealous brother between the two of them was when Jimmy pulled Jay out of the ring. Like, that's the only time I can think of a jealous thing being verbally admitted or even being shown on screen. If we get to SmackDown tonight and Jimmy starts talking a whole bunch of stuff about how he trusted Sammy more than Jimmy and how he went after the tribal chief thing instead of checking on his brother while he was hurt, you didn't show us any of that. You just turned Jimmy just to turn Jimmy. Now you're trying to fix all of this together. And that's my problem with this, is it doesn't make sense storyline-wise. It feels like we were swerved just to be swerved. It felt like a Vince Russo thing where we all think you're going to go left, let's turn right for no reason at all. And that just doesn't work, especially with the consistency of the Bloodline storyline that we've been getting the last couple of months. It doesn't fit with that. It doesn't fit in that category at all. I have to always find a way to bring this up, I feel like. This is my TED Talk every single episode when we talk about the Bloodline. This story fell apart when Cody didn't win at WrestleMania. And I am going to go to my grave saying that, because think about the downfall of the entire Bloodline. Right now, if Cody beats Roman for the titles, like if Cody beating Roman for the titles was absolutely the right call at WrestleMania, the wrong call was having Roman win. And especially the way Roman won makes it was not the right call. We are past the point now of seeing Roman Reigns with this title. We are past the point of having the same exact Roman Reigns matches every single time. If Cody and Brock at SummerSlam, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, if Cody and Brock at SummerSlam had been for that title, that story probably would have been elevated a little more, because the story going into Cody Brock was horrible. I think we all can admit the story going in, there was no story. We never got the reason why Brock was so mad at Cody and going after Cody, and then doing what he did at the end of that match. even adds more confusion to why they were beefing in the first place. But if you add the title to the line, if you add the title to the picture, Brock's one of the guys. And so you have him going after the title, have Cody get the wins over him. That makes sense. Roman and the Bloodline falling apart. Roman being upset that the Usos lost the titles, cost him the titles at WrestleMania. Well, now me and Solo are going to go after the titles that you guys lost. Didn't get the job done there. The beef between the Usos and Roman and Solo. That's to me what doesn't make sense about Jimmy turning. Is that there was nothing pointing to Jimmy turning. And I know some people are going to say, well, that's the point. That's good TV. It's a swerve. It's a shock. Some things don't need to be a shock. Shocking things aren't always good things. We need to remember that. Shocking things are not always good things. Was it shocking when Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel at WrestleMania? It was shocking. Was it good? No, it was not good. We're going to look back at WrestleMania 39 again and look at that moment where Cody should have won the title there. And we're going to look back at it and say they missed completely and we're jumped the shark now. Because I have a feeling a lot of people are done with the Bloodline story. I am sick and tired of having to say wait and see for the Bloodline story. After Sammy lost, it was wait and see what Cody does at WrestleMania. Cody lost. Let's wait and see what happens now. Now what are we doing? Now what are we waiting for is my question. So I think the main event was doomed to fail, putting everything together, especially if you wanted to do the turn. Again, tonight on SmackDown, I didn't even mention this. If Jimmy's whole purpose of turning was to join the Bloodline again, then that is just absolutely horrendous booking on whoever decided that. I mean, that is terrible booking if we're putting Jimmy back in the Bloodline after everything that has happened. He's supposed to be there tonight. Apparently, he's there to acknowledge Roman Reigns. I feel like that's another swerve that's happening. Is Roman just feels like Jimmy's joining the Bloodline back. I don't think that's going to happen. But there has to be a really good reason for Jimmy to turn heel and to turn on his brother for this to work for me and for this to go up. I feel like this was one of the more disappointing Roman Reigns main events since maybe Extreme Rules against Finn Balor. The Drew one was disappointing, and obviously Cody at WrestleMania was disappointing as well. But the match itself was just not there, and the story did not fit in. Let's go from a downside to an upside, man, because going into predictions, and you can go back and listen to my predictions, I said that Gunther versus Drew was going to be match of the night, and don't get me wrong, they had a fantastic match, but they were not the match of the night for me. The match of the night came between Seth freaking Rollins and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think we all kind of got the sense at Money in the Bank that, not that they were holding back, but they were keeping some stuff back because they knew they were going to get this match at SummerSlam. And they did not hold anything back in this match. Some of the best near falls this year in wrestling, in WWE, that I've seen, of Seth kicking out of the coup de grace, Finn kicking out of a pedigree. The finish to this was absolutely amazing. The tension between Finn Balor and Damian Priest was awesome, continuing into Monday Night Raw. I feel bad for Finn Balor. I feel like he's on the bottom end of this right now. I hope once we kind of progress this story more, Finn's the guy coming out on top. I personally think it was way too soon to take the title off of Seth. I think Seth is still trying to establish that title, and if you flip-flop too soon, then it just becomes a meaningless title. So I'm fine with Seth retaining. I wouldn't have been mad if Finn won, to be honest, either. But I think Seth retaining was a good call, especially with Damian keeping that Money in the Bank briefcase. I'm sorry, Senior in the Bank briefcase. So I just, I don't know what to expect next from the Judgment Day. Part of the problem in WWE right now is they want everything to be the Bloodline storyline. I mean, you look at Imperium. Imperium is teasing a breakup. The Judgment Day is teasing a breakup. So not everything needs to be the Bloodline. I'm curious by the Judgment Day. I think Imperium does not need to break up ever, especially anytime soon. But I'm curious to see what takes place later on down the line between the Judgment Day. But for right now, I think Seth needs to move on. He's getting the feud with Shinsuke Nakamura, which signed me up for that. Heel Shinsuke versus Seth Rollins for the world title. I'm all for that. I know I just said I hope Seth keeps the title for a while to establish it, but boy, if Shinsuke wins, I'm not upset about that at all either, because it is way past time for that man to have a world championship in WWE. But I think that feud's going to be amazing. And, Judgment Day is kind of, who knows where we're going to go from there, but Finn and Seth, what a match. What a match. If you have not seen that yet, definitely go and check it out. Another match that a lot of people were high on after it happened. Personally, I thought it was lackluster and underwhelming, and especially the finish that we got. We'll talk about all that here in a minute. But the women's triple threat for the WWE Women's Championship, Asuka losing her title to Bianca Belair. Charlotte Flair was there as well, even though she acted like she really didn't want to be there for most of this match. I don't know. There was just something off between all three. I have a problem with Asuka coming out second. I don't care about your sponsorship with C4. I have a problem with the champion coming out second. I think it automatically makes them, or having them come out before, like, the champion should come out last. And Asuka came out second. Bianca came out last. I think it shows the faith, the stock of Asuka in that company right now, which, if that's the case, that is baffling to me. Asuka deserves so much better in this title run. I think you could have had the same finish, do the injury angle with Asuka and Io going down the line, especially with Kairi Sane being brought into the company now. Like, are you kidding me? It's right there, and you messed it up. The last 5 minutes of this match I thought were really good. I think from the moment Bianca got hurt, and boy, she sold that injury big time, because me and my wife were debating back and forth of, like, is she actually hurt? I can't tell if she's hurt because there's no camera angle showing us what happened. But the scream she gave was fantastic. Once she started to get up and walk around, though, you could kind of tell, okay, we're over the top here now. That spot, though, of the figure four into the 450 splash from Bianca was ridiculous. I mean, that was a fantastic spot. The last 5 minutes of this match ruled. My biggest beef, and I love Bianca, and I think everybody that's listening to this podcast knows I am a Bianca fan. If you go back and listen to when Bianca was in NXT, I was the one that said Bianca Belair is going to be a future star in WWE on the main roster, and Chris laughed at me when I said that. Who's laughing now? But Bianca did not need to be champion for 2 seconds. She did not need to be champion for 2 seconds. I think Asuka could have won, and Io does the cash in, and it works. And it still works even better, because Bianca winning, to me, just for that moment does not make any sense. Bianca winning just to win is horrible. Asuka needed that win. Asuka defining herself above those two ladies now on the main roster as champion. She has been champion 5 or 6 times and has not had one meaningful run, which is ridiculous. And so I think they messed that up there. Io cashing in, though. The Io cash-in was perfect. Everything about it was amazing. Bayley being on her side. I think we've all been screaming for a while. Damage Control needs to break up. Not anymore. I think Damage Control can stay just like they are. I think there's a chance that Damage Control can turn face now with the way everything's been working. They get the big pop. Dakota Kai being in there is a heartwarming moment. And so I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Io moving forward. I'm hoping we get an Io-Asuka feud going into this. But, yeah, the cash-in was amazing. Io Sky, your new WWE Women's Champion. And I'm curious and excited to see where they go from there with her. I hate to keep going down a downer hole, but we got one more. This was a rough one to watch and to go through. Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey in an MMA rules match. Worked MMA in WWE does not work. It does not work. If you put this in a fight pit and let them do their thing, I think this is much better. I think this works out a whole lot better for everybody. I'm thrilled with the result. I'm happy about the result. I'm so happy that Asuka. I'm so happy that Shayna got the big win over Ronda Rousey. Obviously, Ronda is no longer with the company as of right now. She's not in the company anymore. But Shayna got the job done, got the win. It was what it was. Very boring, very slow. Couple of stiff shots, but it did not work at all. And, now we can move forward. Shayna, though, I will say they have done a good job of making Shayna look like a killer coming out of this. And so I'm excited to see what she does from there. But this was a rough one to sit through and to watch. And then Gunther defeating Drew McIntyre to retain the Intercontinental Championship, almost solidifying that he's going to beat Honky Tonk Man's record. This was what you thought it was going to be. It was two big boys beating the crap out of each other, stiff shot after stiff shot. Gunther coming out on top. The finish to this, the ending sequence to this was beautiful. You could tell that you could sense the urgency in Gunther to get the job done and to quickly put Drew away. They were on the top rope and Drew was going for something, but Gunther got him off, hit a splash instantly, picked him up, clotheslined him, picked him up, powerbombed him, covered him 1, 2, 3, retained the title. It was a thing of beauty. This match was as good as we thought it was going to be. I think they were holding back, kind of like we talked about with Finn and Seth and Money in the Bank. I think they were holding back a little bit because I think we're not done with this. Maybe we're done with the Intercontinental Championship, but I don't think we're done with these two guys. And when they come back together for one more match, it's going to be a thing of beauty. So I am excited for that. We found out on Raw that we are getting Gunther versus Gable for the IC title at some point down the line. After the match they had on Raw a couple weeks ago, yeah, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. So I am looking forward to that feud. And I think there's a good chance, depending on when this match falls on the record side, I think there's a good chance Gable defeats Gunther and takes the IC title and finally gets a chance to prove himself on the main roster. We've got two more matches we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the opening match first, and then we'll talk about the second match last. Logan Paul defeating Ricochet in a match. It was fine. I don't think it was as special as we thought it was going to be. It wasn't as crazy. The best spot of this match to me was the buckshot lariat from the ring to the floor. That was cool. Like, that was a really, really cool spot. But something was off, I felt like, in this. This was probably one of Logan Paul's worst WWE matches, but saying that is like nothing because he's had really, really good matches with everybody he's faced. And this was a good match. But when you're expecting and when you hype it up as the most viral match that's going to be possible, you're expecting some big things, especially knowing the work of Ricochet when you let him do his thing, and we just didn't really get anything. Logan Paul gets the win that he needs. I think he's going to be gone for a while. And they just announced he's going to have a boxing match in like October, I think it is. So I think he's done probably till January with the company. Maybe comes back November, December, but I think he's done till January to be in the Rumble. But yeah, it was a nothing match. It was fine. Logan Paul got his win. Ricochet got his moment on SummerSlam. Now we'll see what kind of happens from there. The last match we're going to talk about from SummerSlam is one that I was thoroughly shocked by and really enjoyed more than I thought I would. And that was Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. I've been vocal before about this feud not making sense because we just never got a reason behind this feud happening. We never got the story as to why Brock was so mad at Cody and turned on Cody and all this other stuff. And the first two matches were fine. Like, they were just fine. The first match was better, I think, than the second match. This was the best match of all three. This was a really, really, really good match. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I like the fact that Brock... It took me a minute to get into it. I will admit. It took me a minute to get into it because the count-out stuff was weird to me. But it started to click and make more sense that he doesn't necessarily want to hurt Cody. He just wants to prove to Cody, I'm still bigger and better than you. And beating him down on the outside, F5ing him on the floor, then F5ing him through the table, and Cody still refusing to go down. Cody is this generation's John Cena, but it's working much better than Cena was because the fans are buying in to Cody Rhodes. And again, I said this when we talked about Roman. If this was for the title and he was the champion, could you imagine, just imagine how much better all of this would be? And I'm going to continue to harp on that because that was the biggest missed opportunity of the year so far. And I think that I think they're going to be kicking themselves for a while because they didn't pull the trigger at WrestleMania 39. But this match was amazing between the two of them. I don't know what happened to Brock's shorts. They were massacred towards the end where almost everything was hanging out when he took those 3 crossroads. Hit 3 crossroads back to back to back, covered him 1, 2, 3, pinned him in the ring. After the match, and you can believe it or not, I tend to not believe all of it. But the spot after the match where Brock shook Cody's hand and then raised his arm to all 4 sides of the ring, apparently that was unplanned. I don't buy it. However, I will say it automatically just makes Cody the guy of the company because Brock Lesnar has never done that. And the fact that he did that for Cody, laid down for him twice, bled for him once, did this whole thing, it shows not only does the company have a lot of stock in Cody Rhodes, but it shows that veterans like Brock see that potential in Cody and want to help him get there. And I think Brock did that in this match. A fantastic match. I'm curious to see where Cody goes from here. We did not get a clear picture, even after Raw this past week, of where Cody is going to go from here. We got the tease and maybe Seth, but, none of us want that because I don't think Cody needs to be anywhere near that World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe he goes after Gunther at some point. Drew McIntyre was an interesting choice. I heard some people talk about. We don't have a clear direction on where we're going with Cody, but hopefully pretty soon we will find that out together and see where Cody Rhodes is going from there. But overall, SummerSlam was an okay show to good show for me. Really enjoyed Seth and Finn. Really enjoyed Brock and Cody. Really enjoyed Gunther and Drew. Logan Paul and Ricochet was fine. The women's triple threat was okay up until the end, then it got a little better, and then the cash-in made it even better. And then the main event was just a dud to me, and Ronda and Shayna was a dud to me as well. So a very up-and-down show for sure, but we're past SummerSlam. We're heading towards Payback, I believe, is the next pay-per-view. So we're going to see what happens on the road to Payback as we get closer and closer to it. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Like this video. Share with your friends. Make sure you share the audio version as well. Leave a 5-star review if you can. Do all of that fun stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at PBW Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Andy_PBWP. Now, we're going to transition from WWE to AEW because AEW has finally started to make All In become a little bit more clear after the last couple of weeks. We talked about it last week that MJF and Adam Cole has been made official for the main event of All In, MJF defending the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against Adam Cole. And we've talked for a long time about how this Better Than You, Baby has been the best thing on AEW the last couple of months. Is really taking over the show. The vignette this week of them at the trampoline park and MJF playing dodgeball with the bunch of kids was fantastic. So good. We also, though, that's not the only match because here's the thing that's happening now. 0 Hour, which is like the buy-in or the pre-show for All In. MJF and Adam Cole are pulling double duty, and I love this because Adam Cole has never won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. He's won every other title that he could win there except the ROH Tag Team Championships. And so at 0 Hour, Adam Cole and MJF are going after Aussie Open and the ROH World Tag Team Championships on free TV before the pay-per-view. I'm expecting them to lose. I'm expecting tensions to be high. I'm expecting maybe a turn happens there. And then we head into the main event All In, which I am so excited for. But the fact that they brought that up, MJF's line about Hulk Hogan telling Adam Cole that he is so small or so skinny and white that if this was the 80s, Hulk Hogan would have snorted him was hilarious. Just a bunch of really, really good stuff between these two. So I'm so excited for All In and the main event because I think it's going to be really, really, really special between those two. But we got a couple more matches confirmed for All In. On Rampage, the Bucks laid out the challenge, and then on Collision they answered it. All In, AEW All In for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The Young Bucks are going after FTR one more time, and sign me up. Two of the best tag teams of all time. two of the best tag teams today going at it. And boy, oh boy, I'm excited to see what these guys do. I'm excited to see where we go from there, especially if FTR retains. I think there's a good chance the Bucks win, but especially if FTR retains, could this be setting up at All Out between CMFTR and the Elite? Possibly, but who knows? We'll cross that path when we get there. But I'm excited for the Bucks and FTR. Speaking of CM Punk is now officially facing Samoa Joe at All In. Run that one back, please, a million times, because those two guys just have amazing chemistry together. We got it teased in the tag match a couple weeks ago on Collision. We are getting it one-on-one officially now. Sign me up. I am so excited for that. Then this past week, and I didn't get to talk about it a whole lot, but the vignette or the video a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite of Ricky Starks. I'm sorry, not Ricky Starks. AR Fox and Swerve Strickland going to Nick Wayne's house and academy and just beating him to a bloody mess was so good. And then we get this past week on Dynamite, we get the reveal that Sting is back, All In. We're getting Darby Allin and Sting versus AR Fox and Swerve Strickland. I'm also excited because we're getting the preview of this between Darby Allin and Nick Wayne versus Fox and Swerve on Dynamite this weekend, which is in Nashville, which I will be there for. I'm hoping Sting makes an appearance. But yeah, that's gonna be a really good match. All In is starting to really shape up into a really good card. We also now have the Women's Fatal 4-Way that is happening. Toni Storm got to buy into this. Sheeta defended the AEW Women's Championship against Anna Jay on Dynamite, beat her. I'm not going to give spoilers, although I already know what happened. Saraya gets a chance to be in it if she wins her match tonight on Rampage. And then next week on Dynamite, Britt Baker is facing... remember who she's facing off the top of my head, but she's facing somebody to get in. I think we can all kind of tell where this is going. We're going to get Sheeta versus Storm versus probably Saraya versus probably Britt Baker. Fine with that. It's going to be really good. I'm really excited about that. I hope Jamie Hayter is able to make an appearance. I know she's not medically cleared to compete. I hope she's there, though, to make an appearance, because that will be awesome to see. That All In, though, is coming together really nicely. I'm excited for the show. It's basically sold out, which is ridiculous that it's sold out. We talked about it when it first happened, when they first announced they were going there. We said 40,000 people would be a success. They've doubled that, and they've almost hit 90,000. And yeah, it's going to be an electric crowd. It's going to be an historic show, and we are going to have the coverage for it. We are looking forward to that preview and post show, all of it as well. I'm so excited for All In. We're almost done. The last thing we're going to talk about from AEW and the last thing we're going to talk about on the show is something that's been very interesting the last couple of weeks on Dynamite, and that is between Chris Jericho and Don Callis. Don Callis has been trying to recruit Jericho to his Don Callis family with Takeshita. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet. We're supposed to find out the answer to that this week on Dynamite, which, again, in Nashville. Hey, I'm all excited about that, too. This past week on Dynamite, we had the Jericho Appreciation Society mandatory meeting happen in the middle of the ring, and everybody but Sammy Guevara walked out. And Sammy still walked out, but he told him, "I'm not sure." I think it's time for the Jericho Appreciation Society to split. I think it's a great opportunity. Guys like Daniel Garcia are ready. Daddy Magic is ready to be on his own as well. Anna Jay I think she'll be really fine on her own too. But Sammy Guevara still keeping that tie with Chris Jericho, I think, is very interesting. Then we find out afterwards that Jericho is going to let Don Callis know next week on Dynamite what his answer is, if he will join him. I'm leaning probably towards yes, but who really knows? And who knows where this could lead? I think this could lead to Jericho versus Ospreay at All In, which, yeah, please, that would be fantastic to see that as well. But I think that's going to do it, guys, for this week's episode of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. These episodes are a little shorter just because it's me, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily want to hear me talk for an hour and a half. And not as many rabbit holes to really go down, but I'm hoping that Chris will be able to help send in some videos here pretty soon, giving his thoughts on SummerSlam, because we texted back and forth about it a little bit. But hopefully we'll be able to hear from him about his thoughts on it. Heading into All In, get his predictions and things like that. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Once again, please make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Share this video with your friends. Make sure you are also doing the same thing on the audio version. You can find on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, everywhere you find your podcast. Please make sure that you do that. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at PBW Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Andy_PBWP. Go check out all of our sponsors and our partners over at WrestleBuddy and at SportsWire Radio. But always make sure you tune in right here to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast each and every week. We are so excited about some things that we have working on coming up. Season 2 of the PBWF continues to roll on, continues to be better and better each and every week. Definitely keep up to date with that. We'll have some announcements later on in the season about if there'll be a Season 3 as well, where there's a lot of really exciting things coming up. So make sure you are tuned in and locked in right here at the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. But my name is Andy York. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us. We will catch you guys